Big Book of the Berenstain Bears. 5 books in one. Stan and Jan Berenstain. Originally published as the Berenstain Bears Sampler. The best of bear country. The Berenstain Bears' new baby. This is this way to bear country. You'll know when you're there. As soon as you enter, you will feel like a bear. Down the sunny dirt road, over a log bridge, up a grassy hill, deep in bear country, lived a family of bears. Papa Bear, Mama Bear, and Small Bear. They lived in a large tree, which Papa Bear had hollowed out and made into a house. It was a very fine house. This is what it looked like inside. Wow. That's amazing. It was fun growing up in bear country, helping Papa get honey from the old bay tree.
Old?
Bee tree.
Mm-hmm.
And helping Mama bring the vegetables in from the garden. There were all sorts of interesting things for a small bear to do and see in bear country. Chasing a butterfly, catching a fish, swimming in the water and looking at the fish, chasing a frog, looking at the spider web, looking at the moon, riding his canoe, and flying his kites.
Mm-hmm.
Small Bear felt good growing up in a tree in his own room, in the snug little bed that Papa Bear had made for him when he was a baby. Eek! Babies! But one morning, it did not feel so good. Small Bear woke up with pains in his knees and aches in his legs. Small Bear, you have outgrown your little bed, said Papa Bear as he hitched up his overalls and buttoned his shoulder straps. Today we shall go out into the woods and make you a bigger one. Wow. With that, he ate his breakfast of piping hot porridge, washed it down with a gulp of honey from the family honey pot, took up his axe and was out the door. But Papa, called Small Bear, following after him, what will happen to my little bed? Don't worry about that, Small Bear, said Mama Bear as she closed the door after him. He smiled and patted her front, which had lately grown very big and round. You've outgrown that snug little bed just in time. What will happen to my little bed? Small Bear asked as he caught up with Papa Bear. But Papa was sharpening his axe on his grinding stone and didn't hear. Yes, indeed, said Papa Bear. You need a bed you can stretch out. A bed that won't give you pain in your knees and aches in your legs. He tested the axe to see if it was sharp, then headed out into the woods. What will happen to my little bed? Small Bear asked again as he caught up with Papa Bear in the woods. Papa had chopped down a tree and was splitting it into boards. We will have a new baby soon who will need that little bed, said Papa Bear as he whacked off another board. A new baby? Asked Small Bear. He hadn't noticed that Mama Bear had grown very round lately, although he had noticed it was harder and harder to sit on her lap, and it's coming it's coming soon? Yes, very soon, said Papa Bear. With a final whack, he split off the last board, which gave him enough wood to make a bigger bed for Small Bear. Papa Bear is making a bed for Small Bear. They made the bed a good size and took the rest of the day to chip and shave it smooth and full and neat. And then they carried it back to the tree and up to Small Bear's room. When they got there, Small Bear noticed right away that his old bed wasn't there anymore. My little bed, said Small Bear. It's already gone. You outgrew it just in time, called Mama Bear from the next room. Come and see. It was true. There was a snug little bed with a new little baby in it. Small Bear had outgrown his snug little bed just in time for his new baby sister, and now he was a big brother. She was very little, but very lively. As Small Bear leaned over for a closer look, she popped him on the nose with a tiny fist. Said Small Bear. She has a pretty good punch for a little baby. That night he stretched out proudly in his bigger bed. He said, being a big brother is going to be fun. The next morning, he woke up feeling fine, with no pains in his knees, or aches in his legs. His nose was a little tender, though.
Because of the little punch from his baby sister. Oh my.
The Berenstain Bears and the sitter. Mom and Dad are going out. Gramps and Gran are too. Who'll stay home with the cubs? Just anyone won't do. What's this? Said Papa Bear as he took the day's mail from the Bear family mailbox. It was a notice telling about an important meeting that night at the Bear Country Town Hall. Mama Bear called up Grizzly Gran. Brother and sister Bear sometimes stayed with Gramps and Gran when Mama and Papa Bear had to be away. But Gramps and Gran were planning to go to the meeting too, so Brother and sister couldn't stay with them. Or with Aunt Maud, or with Cousin Wilbur, or Cousin Wilbur. They were going to the meeting too. Why can't we go with you? Asked sister, beginning to get a little upset. Yeah, added Brother Bear, because, said Papa, this meeting is for grown-ups, and besides, it won't be over until late, way past your bedtime. Well, where are we going to stay? The cubs wanted to know. You're going to stay right here, said Mama, and she put down the phone. Alone? Asked Sister. Of course not, said Mama. I've arranged a sitter. A sitter? Said Brother. Who's it going to be? Sister asked. Miss Grizzle, who lived in the hollow stump at the end of the road, said Mama, feeling much better about the whole thing. Miss Grizzle, said the cubs, not feeling better at all. Once, when Sister was playing with her friends, their ball went into Miss Grizzle's flower garden. Miss Grizzle wasn't too happy about it. And another time when Brother was flying his kite, it whooped and bumped into Miss Grizzle. Miss Grizzle on the hat. She wasn't too tickled about that either. Later that evening, after the supper things had been cleaned up, Mama and Papa got ready to go to the town meeting. But who is going to scrub our backs, read us a story, and tuck us in? Asked Sister, still a little nervous about the idea of a sitter. I understand that Miss Grizzle has raised 7 cubs of her own. Wow, that's a big number of cubs, said Mama, putting on her hat, and I'm sure she's a perfectly good back scrubber, story reader, and tucker in her. She's not going to scrub my back, Brother Bear said under his breath. Miss Grizzle came walking up the path to the bear's tree house right on time. There was no question about it. It was the same Miss Grizzle who got bopped with the kites and didn't like the cubs tromping her flowers. She was very large, almost as big as Papa, and she carried a drawstring bag. Drawstring? Evening all, said Miss Grizzle in a loud, jolly voice. Well, time's a-wasting, you two, she said to Mama and Papa. You better skedaddle.
Skedaddle
off to your meeting. Miss Grizzle had a strong way of saying things, and folks usually did what she said. Mama and Papa kissed the cubs good night and skedaddle. Skedaddle. Woo, said Miss Grizzle as she sat down in Papa's big chair. It is sure to get a load off your feet. She took off her hat and looked into her drawstring bag. There's something about somebody looking into a bag that makes cubs very curious. Miss Grizzle, said Sister. Yes? What's in the bag? Nothing much. Just some things I take along when I go sitting. A piece of string, a pack of cards. Meanwhile, over the town hall, the bears were getting ready for their important meeting. They were getting ready for speeches, voting, and arguments about some new laws. But Mama's mind wasn't on the meeting. Neither was Papa's. Mama and Papa Bear were thinking about what was going on back home. Sister looked a little worried when we left, fretted Mama. So did Brother, agreed Papa. They decided to call home and see how things were going. Things are going just fine, said Miss Grizzle. Brother and sister cannot come to the phone right now. They are busy playing cat's cradle. Have a good meeting, shouted the cubs. But they say to have a good meeting. After cat's cradle, they played Go Fish with the cards that came out of Miss Grizzle's drawstring bag, and then they played Tiddlywinks with a special set of winks that Miss Grizzle had made out of polished stones and the snail shell cups. Oh, after a while, the cubs got the yawns, and Miss Grizzle began getting them ready for bed. And she did indeed. Turned out to be a very good back scrubber. Brother changed his mind about not having his back scrubbed. And she was a fine story reader and a really super tucker in her. I hope Mama and Papa had a good meeting, said Sister with a very good yawn.
With a yawn?
With a yawn.
Mm-hmm.
Because we had a very good sit. The cubs had a number of different sitters from time to time, but Miss Grizzle was their favorite, and they were always glad to see her.
The end.
The end.